Ritsu Kodo is a young gamer who suddenly finds himself in the digital world, a cyberspace from a game he plays. There he meets Pulsemon, a Digimon he's been training in the game who wants him to become his tamer for real. Pulsemon's village has been hit with a curse that prevents the Digimon who live there from evolving past the child stage. Pulsemon dreams of evolving so he can protect his village. He needs the bond of partnership with Ritsu to help him train and break the curse. This is the premise of Digimon Dreamers, a new story in the Digimon universe, announced in the Saikyo Jump magazine's October 2021 issue. The story was written by Tenya Yabuno, who worked on Ghost Game, V-Tamer manga and Digimon card game. 21 chapters have been published in the Saikyo Jump magazine so far on a monthly basis. You may wonder how is this story new if it was announced in 2021. Well, in June this year, it was announced that this manga will continue on Digimon Web, the official Digimon website, and get an official translation into English and Chinese. Unlike Digimon Seekers, the translation will not be machine-generated but professional and will include dub terms. The initial 21 chapters are now being translated and uploaded on Digimon Web on a weekly basis. The chapters are called Pulses after Pulsemon. Akiyoshi Hongo, a pseudonym well known among Digimon fans, is the author of the continued story. Digimon Dreamers is characterized as a comedy genre, but it introduces some new concepts never before seen in the franchise, so it's definitely worth checking out. It's story time. Ritsu Kodo is just your everyday elementary school kid. One day he was on his way to school when he was suddenly transported to another world through a mysterious gate. Still unaware of where he is, he heard ecstatic screams from Pulsemon, Patamon and Bokomon, who were obviously happy that something they did worked. Being a gamer, Ritsu recognized these creatures as Digimon. Not only does he know about Digimon, but Ritsu has been raising a Pulsemon in his game. Pulsemon confirms that is indeed him, Ritsu's adorable Digimon partner as he calls himself. Pulsemon can't wait for Ritsu to start training him, as he wants to become the strongest Digimon there is. Ritsu, on the other hand, admits he was actually considering deleting Pulsemon and starting over. This was because Ritsu spent all his time raising Pulsemon, but he never evolved, so he thought Pulsemon is buggy. Pulsemon says great talents always evolve late, and he is sure he will evolve into something way past cool. Pulsemon wants Ritsu to start training him as soon as possible, so bad that he is willing to endure punishment if he underperforms. Like, if he doesn't meet expectations, Ritsu can whip him, or if he slacks off he can hang him from a tree, or if he passes out he can stick an energy capsule in his behind. Ritsu is flabbergasted by this behavior, calls Pulsemon a freak and says he wants to go home. Pulsemon calls him a heartless fiend in return. Bokomon tries to prevent Ritsu from leaving by giving him a stone as a present, but Ritsu is not amazed by this so-called gift. It's not a special stone, but just something Bokomon picked up from the ground. Patamon says they should not stop Ritsu from leaving, after all he's just a stranger who thinks Digimon are just things he plays with in his game. Ritsu doesn't like this remark. He wonders what are Pulsemon's reasons to want to be stronger so bad. His dream is to evolve to the ultimate stage and become the strongest Digimon. Bokomon takes Ritsu to their home, Cypress Village, full of familiar baby-level Digimon. They are all amazed to see a human tamer, as no one in the village has one except Pulsemon. They heard stories about how Digimon grow stronger when they have humans as partners. Ritsu wonders why there are no Digimon in this village past the child stage when a perfect level Digimon flies over his head, Megadramon. Patamon says he is one of the wild Digimon who sometimes comes to their village to attack them. He explains that Pulsemon wants to become stronger so he can defend his village. Ritsu now understands Pulsemon and says he can summon him to the digital world anytime and he will help him evolve, but one time they happened to summon him while he was in the bath. The next time Ritsu goes to the digital world, we see him lazing at a coffee shop where Agumon works as a waiter. He's enjoying a cup of coffee, thinking it's not so bad to be summoned here for this, when Pulsemon comes screaming at him. He says Ritsu should do his job and train him to become the champion. Ritsu admits he is willing to help but doesn't really know what he's doing. Pulsemon reassures him that their bond is the key to evolving and they should start training as soon as possible, inviting him to a volcano. Ritsu says he's not exactly an outdoors type and prefers to stay at home. Ritsu proposes that Pulsemon should take his smartphone and selfie stick and he can watch Pulsemon through his laptop. Pulsemon thinks that's no different from playing a video game, so he ties Ritsu with rope and drags him to the volcano for some bond deepening. Pulsemon dodges rocks that are falling from the volcano with ease, making Ritsu remark that Pulsemon obviously doesn't need his advice. But Pulsemon is adamant that they should work on their bond, so he ties Ritsu to his back to dodge the rocks together. Pulsemon takes a break because he suddenly smells something sweet and realizes he's hungry. The sweet scent turns out to be Vegemon, who uses sweet scents to lure small Digimon. He says he didn't expect such a feast this high up in the mountains. Pulsemon thinks this is the perfect opportunity for him to gain some experience in a real battle. Digimon is defeated, but not from a battle with Pulsemon. As Pulsemon was approaching him to attack, Ritsu grabbed his tail and pulled him back. It turns out a big volcanic rock was falling from the sky, so he saved Pulsemon, but it hit and incinerated Digimon. Nevertheless, Pulsemon still thinks he won and is one step closer to being a champion. Bokomon thinks Ritsu has the makings of a master tamer, as he was able to see the big picture, but all Ritsu is thinking about is going back to the village and cuddling with baby Digimon. One day, Ritsu was at a fast food restaurant called WC Donald's, ordering 2 hamburgers with fries, when he was summoned by Pulsemon to the digital world. Angry that he didn't get to eat his food, he started screaming "My hamburgers", and Patamon and Bokomon thought that's how humans greet each other in their world. Pulsemon says he called him because something important has happened in the Cypress village. Tanemon has succeeded in making an improved version of meat that grows from the ground. Tanemon says he wanted to create this meat so every Digimon in the village can become strong, and maybe it can even help with evolution. Everyone starts eating, complimenting how Tanemon's meat tastes so good, but Tanemon doesn't like how that sounds, like they are eating him, so they name it Cypress meat, but Tanemon thinks that too will create misunderstandings. Ritsu takes a bite and loves the meat, so he and Pulsemon start eating in sync. Others watch in wonder, thinking their bond has deepened and Pulsemon might evolve, but what happens next is that both Ritsu and Pulsemon fall asleep from eating too much. While everyone is trying to wake them up, a Koemon flies by carried by 2 Picodevimon. He informs an Ogremon that something has finally been completed. During a training session with a punching bag, Ritsu wonders what Pulsemon would look like once he evolves. Pulsemon says he will evolve into Bulkmon, and it could happen anytime, because he feels like he is in his peak form. The group receive bad news. Ogremon has come to the Cypress village and is eating all their meat. Tanemon tries to stop him, but his efforts are futile. He doesn't have enough strength. Ogremon is curious why there are no adult Digimon in this village, but Koemon explains they have a curse that prevents them from evolving. Pulsemon rushes in to save Cypress meat, but gets hit by Ogremon several times. He endures it because he thinks enduring pain will help him evolve. This makes Ogremon very angry. He says Pulsemon should only blame himself for not evolving, because he was born in a cursed village. He also thinks his human tamer is useless. He proposes a fight with Ritsu, but Ritsu backs down. He remembers how the last time he ate meat in the digital world, his stomach was still full when he came back to his world. That must mean that if he dies here, he will be dead for real. He feels horrible for not being able to do anything. Pulsemon wakes up and says he never expected Ritsu to fight, just to cheer him on if he believes Ogremon deserves to be punished. Bokomon adds that sometimes the human partner will be powerless, but the tamer-Digimon bond ties their hearts together and gives Digimon more power. Ritsu now understands and starts cheering Pulsemon that he can do it and defeat Ogremon. Pulsemon's body begins to shine and he starts evolving into Bulkmon, seemingly breaking the curse of Cypress village, but his evolution is incomplete and only his head turns into Bulkmon's. His head is too big for his body, making him topple over and wriggle helplessly. Ogremon laughs at him hysterically, but Pulsemon is not giving up. He uses Bulkmon's strong jaws to walk by opening and closing his mouth. This disgusts Ogremon, who kicks him so hard he loses his Bulkmon head, but instead his arms and legs begin to pulsate with Bulkmon's body parts. The energy he received from his bond with Ritsu is fighting the curse and trying to complete evolution. He now has the power of Bulkmon, but is stuck in Pulsemon's body, so he jokingly proposes to be called Balsmon. In a fierce fight with Ogremon, Pulsemon manages to retain Bulkmon's body long enough to release his electrical fist attack and defeat Ogremon before changing back to Pulsemon. The only evolved thing he retained seems to be his increased appetite, as he immediately starts to replenish his strength with some cypress meat. With Ritsu's next visit, we see the ritual Pulsemon, Patamon and Bokomon perform to summon Ritsu to the digital world, and it looks a lot like summoning a demon, complete with Bokomon's cloak outfit. Once again, they called him at the wrong time, for he was just about to reach Victory Royale in Fortnite. They plan to visit a shrine, looking for a hint about the curse. The shrine scares Ritsu and he refuses to enter, but Pulsemon ties him with rope once again. As they enter the shrine, they face Sandiramon, the holy beast Digimon who guards the shrine. He's angry they woke him from his slumber. Bokomon once again tries to calm the situation by offering Sandiramon a stone. Ritsu thinks it's a sacred stone that will soothe Sandiramon's soul, but of course Bokomon just picked it up from the ground because he thought it looked cute. Sandiramon is offended and unleashes his Krishna attack by releasing a spear from his mouth. Pulsemon thinks that's gross and spits and sneezes on Sandiramon, saying that's exactly what he did to them by releasing that thing from his mouth. Sandiramon takes the spear from his mouth and holds it with his tail this time, aiming it at Pulsemon, who stabs it with Bulkmon's arm. He also kicks him with his leg and headbutts him. Finally, Sandiramon says he knows nothing about their curse and they should look for answers elsewhere. He wants to go back to sleep and asks them to fix the damage they did to his gate. Bokomon remembers he brought a piece of cypress meat with him, and the others comment how he should have offered that to Sandiramon instead of a rock. Sensing the smell of meat, Sandiramon leaps to bite it in his sleep. Before their next adventure, Pulsemon is practicing his autograph when Ritsu comes from the human world and greets him as Pal. Pulsemon gets angry at this nickname, even though Ritsu explains that it's short for Pulsemon because Pulsemon believes Ritsu doesn't want him to evolve, but stay a child forever and be cute. He wants Ritsu to call him Champion instead. Seeing an autograph board, a Starmon appears, wondering who wants his autograph. He calls himself the creator of the universe and wants them to call him Big Bang. He came to the village because he heard of meat worthy of his star rank. Tanemon reveals to the group that he decided to sell his meat as souvenirs, but their price is high. Starmon wants to have a sample taste first, but they give him regular meat and mock him. He gets angry and unleashes his Meteor Squall attack. Pulsemon releases his Bulkmon legs to jump and dodge the attack, leaving Starmon confused. He then transforms his head and headbutts Starmon with its weight. Tanemon offers Starmon some of his meat to recover. Bokomon takes out a dictionary and says the word Pal means a friend or comrade. Suddenly, Pulsemon likes his new nickname. All the Digimon in the Cypress village seem excited that a human has come to the digital world, and Ritsu is flattered, thinking they are talking about him. But his name is Joe Wakamiya, and he has been traveling through the digital world for a long time in search of the door to the S-Dimension to find his missing brother. He says his life in the digital world has been full of adventures, meeting many Digimon and learning many new things. Pulsemon asks Joe if he knows anything about the curse that prevents the Digimon in this village from evolving and limits him to evolving just body parts. Joe says he has never heard of such a thing, but when Pulsemon evolves his head, Joe concludes that the digital world is full of surprises and you can learn something new even after thinking you've seen it all. In that moment, Akuwagamon comes flying in to attack. The others think he's here to attack the village, but Joe says this Digimon is after him, preventing him from getting closer to the S-Dimension. Pulsemon wants to defend the village, but Joe says he should leave it to them. While everyone is wondering who he meant by them, Joe takes out a seashell-shaped horn and summons a Wingdramon. Pulsemon forces Ritsu to join Joe on the back of Wingdramon as he takes the battle to the skies, petrifying him. After they defeat Kuwagamon, Pulsemon wants him and Ritsu to join Joe on his adventures, but Joe says they will face their own adventure one day. Pulsemon is now even more motivated to train, so he can be ready for that adventure. Ritsu also thinks an adventure would be cool, but he doubts someone like him could survive in this world like Joe. Pulsemon has a weird feeling that someone is watching him when a drooling Espimon appears, craving some delicious smelling meat. Or that was what he wanted others to think, because he is in fact a spy who came to investigate on Pulsemon. He heard a Digimon from Cypress Village has obtained the power of localized evolution. Once he obtains information about how a Digimon can evolve only parts of the body, he plans to sell that info to Vademon, who is doing research on Super Chimeramon. Espimon thinks this power could be used to have different parts, like Mugendramon's arms and Aerovidramon's wings on one Digimon. Pulsemon is smart and asks Espimon why would he give him that info for free when he can sell it himself to Vademon. Espimon gets angry that Pulsemon wants to take over his business and now plans to capture him and deliver him to Vademon. They start fighting and Espimon proves to be a worthy opponent. He turns himself invisible, so Ritsu comes up with a plan. He whips out some cypress meat and starts cooking it. Espimon starts drooling again and his saliva drops to the ground, revealing his location. Pulsemon then evolves his head and defeats Espimon, who thinks his evolution is gross and not what he expected. He thought Pulsemon can evolve body parts at will, but the reality is he doesn't have a choice, he's just fighting the curse. This information is no longer valuable to him. When asked about the curse, Espimon says he doesn't know anything about it, but they should go to Witchelny and investigate there. There are Digimon there in a magical academy who can use magic of a high-level programming language. This is the adventure Pulsemon has been waiting for. There is a wizard Digimon crouching at the edge of the memory ocean, contemplating who he was in the past. It's Wizardmon, but he has a fishing rod instead of a staff. Where do Digimon come from and where do they go, he wonders, thinking how the sound of waves can turn a Digimon into a poet. Suddenly, his poetic thoughts are interrupted by the racket of Pulsemon and Ritsu, who come screaming from the water, yelling how they finally found Wizardmon. They ask him for directions how to get to Witchelny. This Wizardmon knows about Witchelny, but he has amnesia, and when he tries to remember something, he gets a headache and things come sprouting from his head. When he tries to remember Witchelny, a bunch of flowers sprout from his head. When he thinks Pulsemon wants to steal his knowledge, he tries to remember his special attack, but flags of countries come out from his head. Another time, birds fly out from his hat. As Wizardmon explains that he obviously can't help them in the state he is in, a Dagomon comes out from the water. He says he felt Wizardmon's magic potential even from the ocean depths, and he wants it for himself. He says he has already taken magic from many other Digimon, but taking Wizardmon's will bring him one step closer to being the ocean's sole ruler. As Pulsemon and Ritsu try to defend Wizardmon, he suddenly remembers he was in a similar situation before. He remembers being attacked by Phallasmon, with Leomon, Tailmon and Numemon defending him and telling him to retreat to another world. He remembers he used to fight too, and tells Dagomon he can't allow him to take his magic because friends are waiting for him and he has to go back to Witchelny. This time, when his hat opens, his staff comes out instead of flowers and birds. Dagomon tries to attack Wizardmon with his spear, but Wizardmon stops it with a magic shield. Pulsemon names it the Wonder Barrier, but Wizardmon doesn't like his techniques to be named. Dagomon brings out more of his tentacles from the water, but Wizardmon slashes them with his magic shield. Finally, Wizardmon releases Thundercloud to finish off Dagomon, and Pulsemon's body reacts to its electricity by releasing sparks. Wizardmon thanks Pulsemon and Ritsu for helping him regain his memories, but he says they will not have their hopes fulfilled at the current Witchelny. It was once a place where Digimon were taught magic, but is now in ruins. A Digimon appeared who wanted to erase all magic knowledge, Phallasmon. He believed that dangerous Digimon are born from magic knowledge. He convinced other Digimon to ban magic and gathered support for the Magic Academy to be closed. The Digimon believed him because they wanted a world of peace, and in the beginning it was. But soon after, Phallasmon's dictatorship began. Digimon who used magic were thrown in prison, and those who defied him were purged. Wizardmon barely escaped, but he lost his memories. He wants to go back and defeat Phallasmon. He says that Ritsu and Pulsemon might find information about the curse in the Book of Sim Earth, but the magic school's library is closed now and no one can enter. He thinks they should go there some other time, when Witchelny is restored to normal, but Pulsemon is already determined to go with Wizardmon now. At Witchelny, Leomon is secretly teaching magic to young Digimon when they are discovered by Devimon and Evilmon, Phallasmon's security force. Leomon and Devimon start to fight when a Ghostmon intervenes, trying to persuade Devimon that they need to learn about magic to help Digimon who are in need. Devimon slaps him, saying they don't need magic when they have Phallasmon to obey. At that moment, Pulsemon appears with Bulkmon's head and fist and hits Devimon across the face. Ritsu and Wizardmon are following behind, to Devimon's surprise, who thought Wizardmon was dead. Devimon flees to inform Phallasmon at once, but with Pulsemon on his back, who wants to be taken to Phallasmon. Devimon shakes him off and disappears. The group arrives at the Resistance Refuge, where they are welcomed by Tailmon, Numemon and Mojamon. Pulsemon and Ghostmon get into a fight over who is strong enough to join the fight against Phallasmon, so they duel. Pulsemon easily wins by evolving his head and tossing Ghostmon with his tongue, who then starts to cry. He says they can't understand how he feels, because he has always dreamt of being a helpful Digimon. Ritsu says Pulsemon can definitely understand him, because he also dreams of getting stronger and lifting the curse from his village. Pulsemon pledges to bring back that potential they all deserve. The Resistance army marches to Phallasmon's castle, where they face off his minions. They manage to get past Evilmon, Cyclomon, Minotaurmon and Dark Lizardmon when they come across a bunch of magically enhanced Devimon. Wizardmon explains that Digimon in Witchelny use magic to obtain 50% more attack power compared to their normal form. One of the Devimon is affected by Phallasmon's technique Demon's Shout, where he uses his voice to brainwash other Digimon. Wizardmon explains how Phallasmon also uses this technique in his speeches to brainwash Digimon in Witchelny, and how once he almost fell for it. Phallasmon tried to control him to stab himself in the heart with his staff, but Leomon, Tailmon and Numemon arrived to save him. Pulsemon wants Tailmon to enhance him with magic so he can fight Devimon, and she refuses because she thinks magic is taught with effort, it's not just some weird drug. Pulsemon says she won't do it because she sucks at it and she falls for it. Enhanced with magic and electricity, Pulsemon rages at Devimon and puts a hole in his extended hand and then punches him in the face. Depleting his energy, Pulsemon falls to the ground, but Ritsu prepares him a meal to recover. Next, they proceed to the castle, where the entrance is open. Phallasmon wants them to come inside. Defeated Devimon has come to report to Phallasmon, who is disappointed in him once again and commands him to kill himself. Pulsemon shouts at Phallasmon to give back the magic knowledge to Witchelny, but Phallasmon says knowledge is power, and the less knowledge there is in the world, the easier it is to control. With Pulsemon not yet recovered, Wizardmon starts to battle Phallasmon. He has a strategy now to avoid Phallasmon's Demon's Shout. He put his magic shields in his ears to avoid his commands. Pulsemon jokes how the technique should now be renamed to Wonder Earplugs. Wizardmon attacks Phallasmon with Thundercloud, but he merges his attacks, Demon's Shout and Black Statue, to dress himself in black armor and make himself more powerful, equivalent to evolving to the next level. He commands Wizardmon to use his Thundercloud on Tailmon, but Pulsemon jumps in to save her. He absorbs Wizardmon's attack and uses the power to electrify Wizardmon and wake him up. When Pulsemon asks Phallasmon to tell him about the curse, Phallasmon reveals his work at Witchelny is just a beginning, as he plans to merge the digital world with the human world. Felismon's armor is half made by his Demon's Shout attack, and Pulsemon managed to break it on Wizardmon with his Electric Shock. If he could generate a powerful shock, it could break down his armor. Wizardmon says there is the legendary Bolt Break, when Digimon draw out the dormant power from their Digicores, but the attack is difficult to withstand. However, Ritsu has a plan. That's the story of the first 21 chapters of Digimon Dreamers. The 22nd chapter will be released sometime this fall, after all 21 chapters are translated and published on Digimon Web. If you liked this video and would like me to continue to cover the story, let me know by liking this video. How do you like the story of Digimon Dreamers so far? Tell me in the comments below. If you want to support me, you can do so on Patreon or buy me coffee, the links are in the description below. Thank you for watching, stay tuned for more Digimon videos. P.S. Make sure to follow my community page on YouTube, as I also post updates about upcoming videos there.